Anybody that follows me knows that I have a very thirsty golden retriever. And so I was waiting for her to finish up her evening gallon of water jug. My name's Adrienne Wood, and I usually do Old Mom Sunday night. This is kind of a different video for me, which is a heart topic. So I have some heart topics, and I'm just really excited to be talking about this. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. It is Sunday. I thought it was Sunday yesterday. So anyway, there's that, because I'm, normal and don't. Anyway, I'm going to put a little link up here. So the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is hosting this video, and I think they're awesome. And I'm working with them this year, really just to kind of raise awareness about school lunch programs, meal programs, and this is something that y'all might be like, it's totally out of your wheelhouse. But for me, we live in a community of, we're maybe 70% free and reduced lunch. And we just got the news about a month ago that we're going to have free breakfast and lunch for everybody in our district, which is great. So we had, during the pandemic, I think you saw things like that happen, which were great. And then they kind of went away. So that's really fun. So this video is sponsored by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And for more information on child nutrition, how to combat hunger, you can check out Healthy Eating Research and or reading Feeding America, Healthy Eating Research, great organization. So there are very few things that I have found that people can agree upon. I mean, you could be talking about a submersible, you could talk about, well, let's say for me, for instance. So last night I did a video and I was just folding laundry. And more people were like, why are you doing your children's laundry? And I'm like, really? Like, is this really where we are? Like, you're such a perfect parent that you haven't folded your children's laundry? I mean, people want to argue, but I think there's one thing that we should all agree upon, or most of us can. We want to live in a country where our children or our grandchildren go to sleep every night not hungry. A country where kids have easy access to healthy food. Now, no matter how much money their families make, what they look like, or where they live. It's really a big deal. And so tonight we had stopped for dinner. My husband and my oldest son and I had ridden down to Hatteras, which is about an hour from us, and we stopped at Jersey Mike's, got a sub. And we were talking about, I said, tonight I'm going to be talking about this. And I was talking to them about how behavior and school happen. And my 17-year-old was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, okay, think about when you're really hungry. Can you study? And he was like, no, I have to eat. I was like, exactly. So my principal earlier this year was telling me that she was like, we just encounter more issues. Like we had a class that maybe somebody was misbehaving in the class. This is like towards the end of the year. And the teacher said, okay, you can't get it together. The whole class is going to have to wait 15 minutes to go to lunch. And this one child, this is at my daughter's middle school, this one child kind of went 0 to 100 really quickly. And the teacher was like, I don't know what's wrong with them. What's wrong? And the principal said he hadn't eaten since lunch the day before because he was late to school. He missed breakfast. So that 15 minutes for a child who's growing, probably a 14-year-old boy, hadn't eaten in 24 hours. And you might say, well, why is that our problem? I think we all agree again, that children need to be fed. And I was talking about this with a friend yesterday. I was like, it's real easy to give ourselves credit, like, oh, I'm so wonderful, or look what I've done, or I've got all these degrees and I have these children. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I was born into the right family. Just think about that. What family were you born into? And what access did that give you? I was born into the right family. And if you're not born into that family, does that mean you shouldn't get food? Because if we're going to go to all the trouble of educating people, which we are, it's a constitutional right, and we're going to educate people, and we're going to make sure that they're getting a free and reduced public education, they're not going to learn if they don't eat. So we need people to eat. Now, throughout the school year, free and reduced school meals are offered through USDA. But when the school year ends, school meals go on hiatus. So summer meals are offered through USDA, but the programs are not as well known and not utilized as well as school meals. And so I think what we want people to know how to get access to consistent, healthy meals. So again, the school meal program is through the USDA, and the summer meal program is offered through the USDA, but not through the school meals program. So you are typically not going to your school to get the food. It's a separate program entirely, and usually offered through different community sites. It could be different places. We'll get into that. But the big thing to know is the USDA does still run it, but where is it? Where do you live? Can you find it? Food security is a major issue for millions of families. And even though the pandemic is over, that means pandemic-era nutrition programs have come to an end. But 25.4 million Americans report food scarcity. Food insecurity, this is kind of what I was talking to you about, negatively impacts the social, emotional, and behavioral development of school-age children and exacerbates the risk for behavior issues that interfere with learning and achieving academic success. So we know that when kids have access to school nutrition, federal nutrition programs, the school breakfast program, after school nutrition program, it supports positive development and behavior. Over the summer, you have the food truck. Okay, well, that's awesome. Food insecurity for a teenager is really a problem. It heightens your risk for developing a mood disorder. Just being hungry. Toxic stress, which comes from chronic poverty and food insecurity, leads to delays in brain development and produces anxiety, emotional behavior disorders, and impaired mood control. I mean, this is a big deal. So what happens in the summer? Well, we know that insecurity goes up because kids do not have this easy access to the 2 meals a day that they did have throughout the school year. So summer meal availability or accessibility is key for those most insecure. So there's a few, if you live in North Carolina, like I do, you can go to Summer Meals 4, number 4, nckids.org. Summer Meals 4, nckids.org. That's North Carolina. You can go to state.nokidhungry.org, state.nokidhungry.org. You can look here for a minute. Hang on. I live in Arkansas. We are number 2 nationally in food insecurity. Wow. Where can you get food? Well, in North Carolina, summer meals for kids for nckids.org. You can go to Child and Family Wellbeing Food and Nutrition Services. Where is your food pantry? There's a food pantry website. I mean, these are really great links. So I'm going to put on the links when we get off of this so you can see them all. But I think it's just important, instead of judging, or I don't know why the parents are feeding the children, or why aren't, what's happening? Why is that not happening? Just say to yourself, we all agree that all kids should be fed. We all agree that. You watch these commercials and they're very far away, and you think, oh, well, that's in Africa, or that's in, this other country, or that's here, or that's there. Like, no. All kids need fed. It's not their fault. Speaking as a kid from the wrong family, said Ginger, it's better to have the food served at school. Otherwise, parents of older kids may take it. You don't know how many times I got peanut butter, if anything, because my daddy's friends got my dinner. I'm sorry to hear that. Worked in a school system and remembered a child who I greeted on a Monday morning. When he was asked about his weekend, he stated he hadn't eaten a meal since Friday lunch at school. And I think now we have backpack buddy programs, lots of different things. Yes, so you said your school might have a free summer lunch program. So Nancy, we know that. We know the USDA is doing they are doing summer meals, but the key is to help families find them. So if you're a PTA, or if you run a food bank, you're a pediatrician, maybe you're a librarian, and this can be something that you could put up on your wall and say, hey, here's where you find your food in your county. So if you're in Chowan County, then say, okay, I'm on the PTA. How do I make sure that our families are getting this information? Do we send it out in a folder at the end of the year? Do we put it on the school's Facebook page? There's lots of different ways to make sure people have it. But I think we just have to acknowledge that kids are hungry in the summer. They're losing access to consistent, healthy meals, and food prices are up. I mean, it is expensive to go to the grocery store. If your PTA, school, or other community organization has not yet shared how to access summer meals, encourage them to do so. Call your PTA, call your school, say, hey, could y'all share? I'm not going to apologize, because I think this is just telling. I have a dog that's thirsty, not hungry, and she deserves to have access to water, particularly when I'm talking. So I'm going to put up this link for y'all, and it's a link that families all over the country can benefit from. I don't know why I didn't just copy it, but I'm going to put it up. So there you have it. Instead of Old Mom Sunday night, think about how you can help your community. I'm going to share this link with you, and you can encourage organizations in your town to share it, or you can share it just so families that are hungry say, okay, where do I get food? Maybe you're going to help somebody, which is awesome. Thank y'all for tuning in.